Good morning, students. Welcome back to your English class. Today, we will do a new lesson, that is the sword in the stone. Children, you might have read the various tales about King Arthur. This is one of the story about King Arthur. Let's see the lesson. King Arthur, famous in legend and history as one of the bravest and noblest king of Britain, grew up as an orphaned youth before destiny intervened in the form of his protector and guardian, Merlin the magician, to reveal his true identity to the people of Britain. Children, King Arthur, very famous in the various popular famous stories and history. And why was he famous, children? For his bravery. He was one of the bravest and noblest, very noble and bravest king of Britain. He was the king of Britain, and he grew up as an orphaned youth. His parents were not there. Before destiny, his luck, okay, his fate intervened. Intervened means, children, came in between, or you can say got involved, in the form of his protector and guardian. Before his luck, or you can say fate, came in between in the form of his protector, the one who saves or protects somebody, or guardian. Who was his guardian or protector, children? Merlin, the magician. He was having magical power, and he was the one who revealed the true identity, who exposed the true identity of King Arthur to the people of Britain. In ancient Britain, at a time when the land was invaded by wild barbarians, the good and noble Lord Uther fought them bravely and drove them away from his land. The people made him king of Britain and gave him the title Pendragon, meaning dragon's head. King Uther Pendragon ruled Britain wisely and well. The people were content, but very soon the king died. It was thought that he had been poisoned by some traitors. There was no heir to the throne of Britain. The powerful lords and knights who had been kept under control by King Uther now began to demand that one of them should be crowned king of Britain. Rivalry grew amongst the lords, and the country as a whole began to suffer. Armed robbers roamed the countryside, pillaging farms and fields. People felt unsafe and insecure in their own homes. Fear gripped the country, and lawlessness prevailed over the divided kingdom. Now, here, children, you have seen in the ancient time, okay, in Britain, the land was invaded by wild barbarians. Means wild, and barbarians means, children, wild and uncivilized people. The land of Britain was invaded by whom? By the wild and uncivilized people. And at that time, the good and noble Lord Uther fought them bravely and drove them away from his land. By seeing his bravery and his goodness, the people made him king of Britain and gave him the title Pendragon. Pendragon means, children, dragon's head. King Uther Pendragon ruled Britain wisely and well. The people were content. Content means, children, satisfied, or you can say happy. But very soon, what happened? The king died, and it was thought that he had been poisoned by some traitors. Traitors means, children, disloyal people who were against the king, or who were not loyal to their country or the king. Okay, there was no heir to the throne of Britain. There was no successor to the seat of Britain. Means after King Uther, there was no successor to uh, to the throne of Britain, means to become the next king. Your children, after King Uther, there was no successor to become the next king of Britain. So at that time, children, what happened? The powerful lords and knights who had been kept under the control by King Uther now began to demand that one of them should be crowned king of Britain. Children, here there were the various noble rank officers and knights, okay, and they all were under the control of King Uther. But after his death, they all started demanding then any one of them should be crowned as a king of Britain. Then rivalry grew amongst the lords. Rivalry means, children, tough competition grew among the lord, means the various noble officers or high rank officers, noblemen, and the country as a whole began to suffer. Children, they all started competing with each other to become the next king of the Britain. And at that time, nobody was looking after their country, nobody was caring for the people, and country started suffering. Armed robbers, they were the people, robbers having arms, they started roaming the countryside, and they were pillaging, means they were looting and plundering, destroying the fields and the farms. People started feeling unsafe and insecure in their own homes because there was nobody to look after them, to take care of them. Okay, fear gripped the country. Here, children, there was fear in the mind of the people. The entire country was caught, or you can say was having a kind of fear, means the people of the country were fearful, and the lawlessness prevailed over the divided kingdom. There was the widespread of lawlessness, means there was nobody following the rule and there was no law in the divided kingdom. Nearly 16 years had passed since the death of Lord Uther. Children, nearly 16 years passed, okay, after the death of Lord Uther. All the lords and knights of Britain had assembled at the great church of London for Christmas. And what happened at that time? After almost 16 years of the death of Lord Uther, all the lords and knights of Britain, they gathered. Assembled means they gathered at the great church of London for celebrating Christmas. On Christmas morning, just as they were leaving the church, a strange sight drew their attention. They could see something which was very unusual. In the churchyard was a large stone, and on it an anvil of steel, and in the steel a naked sword was held, and about it was written in letters of gold, "Whoso pulleth out this sword is by right of birth King of England. Many of the knights could not hold themselves back. Fancying themselves as future king, they rushed to the stone and attempted to draw the sword from its steel anvil. They pulled with all their might, but none of them could so much as move the sword. Obviously, the man who might draw the sword and prove himself to be our rightful king is not among us this morning, said the Archbishop. However, every man who wishes to try his hand at drawing this sword is free to do so. For the next few days, he who draws the sword will be crowned king, and to celebrate the appearance of this magnificent sword and prepare ourselves for the arrival of our future king, we will hold a magnificent tournament on New Year's Day. Here, children, just as it was almost 16 years past of the death of Lord Uther, and all the lords and knights of Britain gathered at the great church of London for Christmas. And as they were about to leave the church, they could see something which was very unusual, and they drew their attention. In the churchyard, there was a large stone, and on it an anvil of steel. There was an anvil of steel. Anvil means, children, an iron block which is used by blacksmith to shape pieces of iron or sword, you can see. And in the steel, a naked sword was held. What was held, children, on this anvil? A sword was held. It was naked sword, and about it was written in letters of gold. What was written in gold letters, children? Whoso pulleth out this sword is by right of birth King of England. Whoso pulleth means, children, whoever pulls out this sword has the right by birth to be the King of England. Many of the knights, they could not control themselves, and dreaming themselves, fancying themselves to be the future king, they all rushed, they ran quickly to the stone, and they tried to draw the sword from its steel anvil. They pulled with their might, okay, but none of them could so much as to move the sword. Means they all uh, pulled with all their mights, but none of them could pull the sword. They were unable to pull out the sword from the anvil. Obviously, means surely the man who might draw the sword and prove himself to be our rightful king is not amongst us this morning, said the Archbishop. Archbishop means, children, a bishop or priest of the highest rank. He said that as none of you could remove or pull out the sword, so this morning, person who can draw the sword and prove himself to be a rightful king is not among us. However, every man who wishes to try his hand to draw this sword is free to do so for the next few days. And he who draws the sword will be crowned as the king. What did the Archbishop say, children? That every man who wishes to try his hand to draw this sword is free to do so for the next few days, and the person who will draw the sword will be crowned as a king. And to celebrate the appearance of this magnificent sword and prepare ourselves for the arrival of the future king, we will hold a magnificent, very grand, okay, splendid tournament on New Year's Day. They decided that there should be a grand tournament on the New Year's Day so that we can prepare ourselves for the arrival of our future King of Britain. On New Year's Day, a great number of young and brave knights gathered to attend the church service. Children, on New Year's Day, what happened? Many young and brave knights, they gathered, means various officers and all the soldiers, they gathered to attend the church service. After that, they met in the field nearby to participate in the great tournaments. Dukes and counts, children, here various kings and prince, earls, barons, knights crowded onto the fields, means various officers, okay, noble rank officers, then various kings, okay, they all gathered, children, in the field to participate in the tournament. Okay, now among them was Sir Ector, a noble knight. Among them, children, there was one person, his name was Sir Ector, and he was one of the noble knight. Children, knight means a person who has been given a title of honor by a king or a queen for good work. Okay, so he was accompanied by his two sons. Sir Ector was having two sons, and both of them were there with him. One was Sir Kay and the other one was Arthur. Okay, Kay was his own son who had been recently knighted. Knighted means, children, he was honored by the king for his good work. Arthur, whom he had brought up as a foster son. Okay, Arthur was not his own son, children. Sir Kay was his own son, but Arthur was not his own son. Okay, he brought up as a foster son, means he brought the child, okay, from somewhere to his home. And actually Arthur was actually an orphan, means he was not having his own parents. Okay, the good Sir Ector loved both his sons dearly. Though, children, Arthur was not his own son, but he used to love both of his own son and the foster son dearly. He used to love them too much. Okay, so children, what happened next in the story, we'll see in the next video. Thank you.